Hi everyone, so I am on page 91 of our Starlight book, so if you'd like to open that and follow along with me as I go through section B, the comprehension questions, read between the lines. So as you know, these questions are a little bit more detailed than section A. They require a little bit more deep thinking and your own opinion. So before I go through the questions, I suppose we need to read over the poems and remind ourselves about these poems. So let's start off with the wind. Listen to the wind a-wailing, rattling the garden gate, brushing the leaves of the oak tree, rustling in the grate. The cat lies flat on the hearth rug, washing his face with his paws. The dog's asleep in the basket. Everyone's indoors. It screams along the alleys. It bellows up the street. It groans between the gravestones. It bowls hats along the street. It's pounding at the windows like the hooves of an angry horse. If it blows like this much longer, it'll knock the world off its course. It's quietened down at bedtime, snoring loud and deep. At 6 it rattles the milk crates and finally falls asleep. So as we mentioned last week, the poet uses lots of lovely imagery in here and we can really picture the scene that he's talking about. He also uses lots of sound words so we can nearly hear the wind as well. So he's really appealing to our sense of sight and our sense of sound. We talked about similes on Friday and I can see one simile here in the poem. It's pounding at the windows like the hooves of an angry horse. So it's so loud that the windows are pounding as if there was a horse galloping on top of the windows. So it really shows us just how loud the wind is here in this poem. Okay, let's move on to the Whisper Whisper Man next. The Whisper Whisper Man makes all the wind in the world. He has a gown as brown as brown. His hair is long and curled. In the stormy winter time, he taps at your window pane, and all the night, until it's light, he whispers through the rain. If you peeped through a fairy ring, you'd see him, little and brown. You'd hear the beat of his clackety feet scampering through the town. So as we mentioned last week, this poem is a little bit more imaginative, and the poet is comparing the wind to a man. So he's describing the wind as if it was a man making all the wind in the world. The poet also appeals to our sense of sight. So he describes what the man looks like here, so we can almost picture him. And also he uses lots of sound words. He taps at your window pane, so we can nearly hear the wind tapping on the window. Or another sound word he uses here is you'd hear the beat of his clackety feet. So the poet is appealing to our sense of sight and our sense of sound here in this poem as well. So let's go through the questions now. Question 1. What 3 verbs do you find most descriptive in the wind and why? So remember, a verb is an action word, a doing word. So basically it means what 3 verbs do you find describe the wind the best? But they have to be those action words. So let's go back to the wind and I'm going to help you to find some verbs here. So an action word. So rattling could be an action word, or rustling, brushing, washing, screams, bellows, groans, pounding. So there's loads of verbs here in this poem. What you need to do is you need to pick 3 verbs that you think describe the wind the best, and maybe say why they describe the wind the best as well. You might say, I picked these 3 verbs because they really help me to hear what the wind might sound like. Okay, question 2. In verse 2 of the wind, why do you think everyone's indoors? So if we go to the second verse of the wind, why is the cat and the dog, and it says everyone's indoors, why would they be indoors, do you think? So that's not too tricky. I suppose the weather is so bad that they all are staying indoors. So write that in your own words there for question 2. Okay, question 3. Write a sentence describing the Whisper Whisper Man. So going back to the poem, The Whisper Whisper Man, the poet actually does describe what the Whisper Whisper Man might look like. He says he has a gown as brown, his hair is long and curled. He also says he has clackety feet. He says he's little and brown. So put that into your own words and write a sentence of what the Whisper Whisper Man might look like. Question 4. Is the Whisper Whisper Man a good name for the character? Why? So this is your opinion. So remember, you can't get this question wrong. It's your opinion, but you do have to give a reason. So you could say, I think it's a good name because, or I don't think it's a good name because. So as long as you give a good reason, you're never going to be wrong with your own opinion here. Question 5. Which poem makes the wind sound louder? Explain your answer. So with this question, you're comparing the two poems. So which one do you think makes the wind sound louder? So let's have a look at the poems again. In the poem The Wind, the poet uses words like pounding, screams, bellows. And then in the poem The Whisper Whisper Man, the poet uses words like whisper, tapping, scampering. So if we compare those words, which poem do you think makes the wind sound louder? So don't forget to give a reason there for your answer. And if you want to, you can do the extra star question. This is optional, you don't have to do it. Which of the two poems do you prefer? Explain your choice. So again, you can say whichever one you want here, it's your own opinion, as long as you explain your answer. So you would write, I prefer the wind because, or I prefer the Whisper Whisper Man because. Okay, so if you have any further questions, just let us know. And we would like you to do all these 5 questions into your English copy, take a picture of them and post them to Seesaw. Okay, good luck with it.